Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin the Food Entrepreneur Show. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm your host. That's Bizzarro. For anyone who's out there, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook, and you can find me personally, two Z's, two R's, guys, at LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm there all the time. With that being said, I have a very special guest with us from a very special part of the world, Union City, California. I have Ahmad Tarin from the burger shop with us today from sunny or semi-sunny California. How are you doing today, Ahmad?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be here today.
So we're going to do take two, guys. Sorry about that. I warmed them up and then I messed up. So we're starting again. So I'm going to jump right into it. Ahmad, let's talk about your story. Let's talk about food. Let's talk about little A to big A. It's all yours.
Absolutely. So born and raised in the Bay Area, coming from an Afghan family, we used to bond a lot over, these big parties, huge families. Everyone would, do potlucks, bring food. So majority of our family, whenever we had a party, there's a huge plate of food in front of us. And so that was our way of bonding. And for me, growing up as a, young kid, I always had a passion for food, whether it be, eating the food or whether it be, creating the food. And so one of my fondest memories is like Thanksgiving as like a 12-year-old kid. Everyone's cooking all the food and I'm just standing there like I could barely even like look over the oven. I was a short kid and I'm like making the gravy. And I'll never forget that memory. And like that was the memory that sparked my love for cooking. And so throughout my life, I always thought, I was like this great cook. And I would always use my parents as my guinea pigs, however much, I made them spend on buying new ingredients and this fancy this and the fancy that, only to like ruin or completely burn the meal and then like still force feed them it. Just be like, how is it? Does it taste good? Did I do a great job? And they always like reinforce me and they're like, oh, it's delicious, even though it's like undercooked chicken or something. But that kind of like, it built me from that age till today, who I am today. All of those mistakes that I made, whether it be in the cooking, whether in my life, it helped me grow as a person. And so if we want to fast forward to basically where the concept came, I was, growing up as an Afghan, our whole entire culture is based off of hospitability, being hospitable people. And so I would always invite my friends over to my house. And if they came over my house, they already know they're going to, leave like 10 pounds heavier. So I would make so much food for them, just, for them to enjoy and to know how good of a cook I am, because always had a problem. I was like, I hate going out, spending so much money at a restaurant and then it be like mediocre food.
Yeah, or still be hungry. That's my other arch nemesis. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the food business. I cannot believe how much mediocre food is out there and how many times I leave a restaurant spending over $100 on one person or two people, somewhere around there, and I'm still hungry. I need to go get a burger.
Exactly. So like my thing was like, I would always go to like this fancy restaurant after or get sushi. And then like after be like to my wife, hey, you want to go hit up Taco Bell? And as horrendous Taco Bell was for the stomach, like I'd be like, dude, I'm starving. So
I know this feeling, and I know the Taco Bell thing for sure. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just like the thing is that you want to go somewhere, you want to eat a proper meal, you don't want it to break the bank, you want it to be delicious, and you also want to leave like full. So it's like those are the three main components of a good restaurant, is that you want to have something affordable, something filling, and something that's delicious. Usually you get either one of the three. Sometimes you're, lucky enough to get 2 out of 3. But going back to just me being a host to my friends, there was one specific time that I think it was like 2018, 2019. I invited one of my friends over to my apartment. My wife went to her mom's house to do something. And I told her, I was like, hey, don't eat at your mom's house because I promise you I'll have some food left over. Like I'm going to make a lot of burgers and I'll make you a fresh burger when you come back. And she's like, okay. And she left. And so my friend was at my house. I made him like 12 burgers. The guy looked at me like, are you insane? Who's going to eat 12 burgers? And so we ended up having that party, and then he left. My wife comes home and she sees like this mountain of food still on the table, and she's like, let me try this burger, and he's been experimenting today, so let me see if the food's good or not. She took one bite and she's like, dude, we need to sell this. And like that was the moment, like it sparked. I never even crossed my mind, like, let me try selling my product. Let me try selling food to the community.
What were you doing at this time for a career or for money? Or you're obviously married at the time, so you're having to do something, right?
Yeah, I was working in the tech field. I was a recruiter. I was working at, Facebook. I worked at Google. I worked at Amazon. At that time, it was around, I want to say 2019. I just started at Facebook as a recruiter. And, it was funny because after that event, or after that little party get together I had with my friend, I think maybe not 3 months later, COVID hit. And so everything went to a complete shutdown. Right when I got that spark of, I'm going to start this tiny business and, then we're going to expand. And it's going to be an amazing business. Like the biggest shutdown in the history of shutdowns ever happened. And just like shutting down all the businesses, like it shut down my motivation for doing this business.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, who's going to start a business where in a time
In
where
California.
everyone is at home in California, where it's
Yeah.
like the most strictest mandates too. Nobody's leaving their houses.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. I don't know if I've ever said this out loud or told anyone this, but we were trying to, in the state of California, our cost of doing business for not the food, let's not even talk about the food cost increase. And when you have contracts that are quarterly, you negotiate pricing quarterly as you work your way through hospital contracts. That's the craziness of that situation. Food prices and labor prices both tripled in 3 months in COVID. In California, especially. I think California, with the cost of doing business, gasoline, moving our trucks around almost went up 4 times. Yet we were basically in good faith moving forward, hoping the insurance companies or the hospital systems would catch up, or the government. I'm sad to say that never happened,
Yeah.
but I will say that was the craziest time I've ever experienced. And for the state of California, trying to move food around, trying to do hospital food, over 30, I think right during COVID, we jumped to over 37,000 meals a day or something like that with all the facilities we're doing just alone in California. And that increased pretty rapidly into almost the 6 digits a day, just number of meals for hospitals. And Kaiser's not the biggest hospital on the block, but they're very big in California. So that gives you guys an idea. That was just Northern California, by the way. Yeah, those numbers. So, because Kaiser works in a NorCal, South Cal system.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. COVID happens. Your motivation's gone. Your career is all over the place, recruiting or not recruiting. The world, I don't think anyone expected the world to be the same again. I don't think it has ever been the same again or will be. But let's talk about, what do you do with your time? All of a sudden you have time and you're almost imprisoned, especially in California in some ways. You're not very mobile.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. So when COVID hit, it was just like a huge blow to my motivation of actually starting this business. I was working in recruiting, and I'll never forget that day as well. I was just about to head over to the office. It was like 7 a.m. I was about to cross that Dumbarton Bridge to get to the Facebook campus, and I get a ping on my work phone, and it's like, U-turn, go home. COVID is like rampant right now. There's been a like mandatory like stay at home order, go home. You have your laptop, you have your work phone. We're going to start working from home for right now. For right now, we think it's going to only last about a week. Who would have thought that, funny thing, my wife still works at Facebook, and it's been 5 years? She's still remote. Nobody ever expected the whole entire work situation to be turned upside down within a matter of like weeks. And for me, I was sitting at home. I just remember like being at home, that initial like, oh, hell yeah, I get to work from home. Like I have so much free time. I can go here, I can go there, not realizing like, no, you can't go anywhere. You're literally a prisoner in your house for the good part of like, I think it was like a year and a half. And just trying to cope with that, it was super tough. All the stores, the stores I used to frequent so much weekly, get my like supplies, get my groceries. Nope, you can't go there anymore. Or you have to do some really, especially like when it's in a higher level, organizational level, like companies have this process of what to follow, like how to follow this procedure during situations like, COVID. But smaller shops, they were severely underprepared. They had no idea what they were doing. There was like, I remember going to one of the local Afghan stores, and it was like a meat market to get some supplies. And it was like a guy standing in front of the door with a mask like on his face and like a surgical mask on his head. Like he had no idea what was going on. He thought like the world was ending. And he's like, what do you guys need?
Tinfoil out and a point on
Yeah,
top, is it right?
tinfoil hat full, like the aliens are invading. Like he's like, what? I don't even know how to, begin to prepare for whatever is going on. He would just stand by the door and say, what do you need? Then run inside, get the supplies, give her to the person, say, give me cash, our machines, I don't want you touching the machine. And then COVID spreads. Like we had no idea what COVID was going to
I
do.
know people were even thinking at that time it was spreading through our dogs. Like our dogs were getting COVID. There was those rumors even. That
Yeah,
it could be near dogs, and dogs had to be isolated also. It's crazy stuff.
it was insane time. So like it was, I don't even remember like how I felt during that time. It was just such a crazy feeling being stuck at home, not being able to really do anything or hanging out with your friends or your family. I just remember during that time, like hearing that, oh, this person got COVID. We thought it was like a death sentence, like as if like this person got the bubonic plague and they have like 24 hours left to live. But in reality, like, they're like pretty healthy in general, like, it's going to pass. But we had no idea. So we were scared for everybody. We're like, oh my God, my brother got COVID, trying to say my goodbyes to him, like not knowing that it's not even that big of a deal at that time. But just in regards to like the food, I realized that I have a lot of time to then use my wife as my guinea pig in the culinary field. So I started trying different meals like, oh, let me cook this, let me try this, let me cook this. I was like, we're going to have a long time to, think about if we want to even start a business. So let me try different, avenues. Okay, the burger thing, it tasted good. So what if we try this? What if we try that? And then basically the entire year passed. And I remember it was in either September or November of 2020 where we made like a firm resolution that we're going to start this business. We're going to start it very, very small. We're going to post it on Facebook. On Facebook, we had this community group called Bay Area Halal Foodies. And so being a Muslim, I have strict dietary regulations. I can't eat non-halal food. So we wanted to provide a service to the community and be like, we have halal smash burgers, delicious smash burgers, filling smash burgers, and cheap smash burgers. So what we did was we made a post there. We just said, hey, here's like a link to follow. If you want to pre-order your smash burger for Saturday night pickup, come by to this location. And it was a small parking lot behind the Union City Post Office and an Islamic clothing store, which happens to be owned by my father. Like it was a tiny parking lot. It was me with a tiny Blackstone grill, me and my wife. And we had a tent and we're like, let's see if anyone signs up. And everyone signed up.
Wow.
We were severely like,
this is incredible.
It was a great turnout, but we were completely shocked. Because
talk to me about preparation. Talk to me about underestimating a situation like that, because I think everyone does it. We either overestimate our first event or underestimate it.
Yeah, I think the worst thing to do is overestimate.
Yeah, yeah,
Being in
me
business
too.
now for 5 years now, like overestimating an event and going into something expecting,
Oh
six,
God,
seven
it's a
months.
killer. Yeah, go
Oh my
on.
God. It's the worst. You're just sitting there with all of this meat, all of this, groceries that you just spent like hundreds of dollars on, and like nobody shows up. It's a huge gut punch. Like you feel terrible. Like, come on, I put in so much time and effort, but thankfully this was the opposite, which also sucked a little bit because we were thinking like, okay, maybe 20 people are going to sign up. And then we had a cap at 50 people. And then somehow they bypassed our Google Sheets and it just kept on going. And the first day we came in there, I had my propane tank, I had everything set up like nice and organized, and like 80 people showed up. And I'm like, what are you guys doing here? They're like, oh, the Google Sheets is still open. And I go and I check and I'm like, oh my God, we're like 30 people over the limit that we had. And my wife's like, don't worry about it. I prepped like this much extra. And thankfully, like there was a lot to learn that first day. I'll never forget that, I think two or three people came to me. He's like, hey man, I get it. Like the whole thing is like the whole Salt Bay action that you're doing over the burgers, but it's hella salty. Like, take it easy, dude. And I'm like, okay, okay. And he's like, also, your buns are huge. I was like, okay. He's like, and we hate tomatoes. I was like, all right. Thank you so much for the constructive criticism. I get it. Like, take it easy. Just give it to me like one at a time. And I was like, on one end, I was like getting all like hurt by their criticisms of the food, but in reality, it was just to help my business grow. And that's one thing that like I sort of realized that should be the focus of my business, that I should push for people to honestly rate my food. So every time I have a customer nowadays, I'll say, like, if they're a new first time customer, I'll be like, hey man, let me know how the food is. If it's not good, come to me to my face and tell me the food is not good, and I'll remake it for you so that it tastes better. And I feel this is something that people take too severely, or too they take it to the heart, that if a person comes and says, oh, the food's not good, the guy's being honest. They're telling you their opinion. They feel that the food lacks in this or it lacks in portion size. Sometimes whenever I'm bored, this is like a weird hobby I have, I just read other businesses Yelp reviews so that I can like use that to work on my own business. And I'll see like, oh, this guy charged $17 for, a chicken and rice platter, and there's like three pieces of chicken. Like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, okay, okay, that makes sense. Like, if I'm gonna spend $17 on a chicken and rice platter, I expect to have more than three pieces of chicken on my thing, just so that I'm actually getting full. And so that's what I put into my business. I was like, okay, if I'm going to make my burgers affordable for people, I want to make sure that the high school student, because I was a broke high school student at once, and I want them to be able to, for $10, come in, get their burger, and enjoy their meal and be out of there. And so during 2020, we started out, our burgers were $6, fries were $1.50, and drink was $1.50. And for $10, you get your meal and you're out. And so that's something that worked for us. And we thought that, the business isn't going to get too far. It's just going to be these little small pop-ups. But thankfully, like the the word spread. We built an Instagram platform, started, taking pictures and trying to be all, this photographer, even though I'm like terrible with the camera. But that slowly built up our business from word of mouth. And I thought that, like, you need to have these crazy $5,000 ads, or, pay some media company to take videos and photos of your business, or some ad or something, so that you can actually get customers. But no, if food is good, sometimes it doesn't happen this way, but like if your food is good, word of mouth actually does a lot. It really does a lot. And the whole concept of us being like hidden behind this, post office, and the fact that we're only available on Saturdays, that was something that kind of built up the hype. It's, if you don't get it now, they're not going to be there. If you don't get it now, they're not going to be at the same location. They might be somewhere else. They might be doing an event somewhere else. And so that was kind of like the stepping stone for building our business.
I love this. I'm going to ask a lot of questions, but first I'm going to anchor this for the audience from a theological standpoint. God, Allah, Yahweh, if God, let's argue this theologically, wants a people or wants to offer multiple things of salvation, let's argue we have free will, so God needs to argue our different ways. God needs to create different ways for us to find salvation just because we're all different and we group together differently. And some of us like strictness, some of us need it hard, some of us need it soft. I don't know how else to put it. And religion plays that role for us. We find it through those different avenues. Let's talk about number 2, halal, kosher, the reason it's important. If I'm God and I'm going to give something to my people, I'm going to give them food health code, laws. Why? Because I want to make sure that they're not dying of stupid things like trichinosis from pork. Okay, because if I'm dying over stupid things like food, when food should be nutrition, then that my people aren't populating the earth and I'm not spreading my word through humans as God, through everyone in various different forms, Jewish, Christian, Muslim. Okay, why am I saying this? It's all connected, guys. The same God wants us to thrive, wants us to populate. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given us the food codes. Food codes are meant so we reproduce and populate and don't die from stupid things. That's simple. That's what it is. Both halal and kosher, it's God's food code, health laws handed down to us before we could scientifically prove anything. So when we talk about God existing, like those food codes are pretty advanced if we break them down in terms of saving humans, in terms of allowing a population to grow rapidly. Why? No disease, no foodborne illness. No foodborne illness, which most people were dying from back then. No need to worry about keeping up your populations doubling, tripling, quadrupling at the pace that everyone else is dying off, needing 7, 8 children only to have 1 or 2 alive, where Islam, Judaism, even Christianity, by somewhat following either or depending on where they were in the world, survived. And instead of survival of 2 out of every 7 to 9, you have only 2 dying out of every 7 to 9. Okay. So that's just for you guys. You can see what happens when we got on ships or we migrated in the United States and we didn't follow the food codes as we were migrating. We had a lot of death, a lot of things, influenza, we call a lot of different things. But the reality is most of it was actually foodborne, bad food prep, not following food laws passed down from God, that type of thing. So I just want to anchor that because I think it's very, very important that we understand why it's there. And it's not a spiritual practice and it's not just hoopla that we don't have evidence that God handed down and we're not sure why and why do people do it. No, there's legitimate science that proves that it saved populations. It helped God's people regardless of their religious affiliation, same God, arguably, grow his people, all of them, to add and offer salvation for many. So I think that we have to look at that because I do believe in food code and I do believe in healthier food ways. And I still believe that the way me personally, the devil works is by slowly rotting away at what we think of health and nutrition and good, healthy food, not only from what's good for me from a nutrition standpoint, but what's good for me from a health standpoint. And that also means parasites, bacteria, foodborne illnesses. because we eat a lot of parasites right now, guys, because we don't think about kosher or halal as necessary anymore. And while our food codes are really great, they're still not to the level of God leveled us up to. Allah, Yahweh. So I
Yeah,
just want to emphasize that for everyone. Go ahead.
no, I totally agree. There's food is such a important aspect in our spirituality. In Islam, the Prophet, peace be upon him, he tells us that when eating, only do one third food, one third air, and one third water. Why? Unfortunately, nowadays, I like to. Unfortunately, I'm like a hater to my own community, the Afghan community. Whenever we have a party, it's not even one third food. It's like four thirds food. Then, while you're already fully stuffed from the food, then on top of that, then put in your drink. Then on top of that, don't forget there's dessert. Then on top of that, then there's tea and fruit and blah blah blah. Like it's going completely against like the divine code of how to live your life. You're supposed to be in a feeling, in a state of mental clarity, physical clarity, and just overall healthiness. So imagine like, religion is about spirituality. It's about, your connection with God. But then why is someone telling you don't eat too much food? Fasting is good for you. Why? Because it helps your body. When your body is doing well, you're able to then worship God with ease. You don't feel lazy. You don't feel tired. A lot of times, unfortunately, like we have a lot of energy to do everything and anything we want to do. But when it comes to like the worship of God, everyone feels lazy. Everyone feels tired. It's because the food that you consume, it it has an effect on you spiritually too. So if you're eating garbage food, just like if you're eating junk food 24/7, it has that physical effect on you. You feel sluggish, you feel tired, you're like you don't have that energy or that even not even the energy, it's just the desire to do anything. That same thing works spiritually. That food that you ingest will also have that spiritual effect. You don't want to, do well. You don't want to have a connection with God. You don't want to do anything good in life. Why? Because you're just like in that slump. And similarly, I just speak on the behalf of like halal food. Like God commanded us in the Quran that to eat that from this earth which is pure. To when we as they say nowadays harvest the animal, make sure that the animal is in like tip top health. It cannot be sick. It cannot be in a state of like disease. It cannot be in any way deficient for consumption. If we're going to use this animal for consumption, it cannot be deficient in it. It has to be in the most pristine condition. It has to be a perfect animal. So that when you slaughter it, the food that you ingest, why is this whole like organic phase? This whole organic, everything has to be organic. Why? Because we know now that if we're eating junk food, we're eating food that's like sprayed with Roundup and all this stuff, it causes effects in our body. It has that effect of, growing cancer cells. It has that effect of causing issues with like, in females, fertility. In children, it causes like, issues. We've seen these carcinogens and all this. Why? Why do we, opt for more, organic foods or healthier foods, something that's going to help us? Because it's going to help our entire body be clean. It's going to help us be pure. It's going to help us be healthy. So that's the thing. That's the connection. It's always, if you see in any religion, a lot of the religion, it works, hand in hand with the food that we eat, and it's being clean, and it's ingesting only that which is clean, and you know that will in turn have an effect on our spirituality.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about this in particular. I'm gonna anchor it against Afghan. I'm gonna anchor against my own culture, Italian background. I'm gonna anchor it on food in particular, or a couple of things that I think Americans in particular or the world may not understand. Is Afghanistan until the 1970s was flush with farms, fruit trees, olives, wine fields all of those things. Okay. Was it industrialized like the rest of the world? Maybe not quite as much, but it was Italian-esque, meaning the food was very natural. Things were grown very naturally because of halal. Food was very done well. What happens in the 1970s between Soviet Russia, United States, different governments in Afghanistan is this weird bearing and burning of agriculture because if they squeeze the food, they can squeeze the people to get control no matter who was in power. And they use this to do it. I don't care. Anyone can talk about anything about the military they want. But at the end of the day, Afghanistan is about it. Afghanistan being a breadbasket. That's the desire there. Okay. And it's the same with Ukraine, just so everyone's aware. You have these very, very, very fertile lands. They may not look so fertile now, but the ground in them, the environment around them, the people, the tradition, for some reason leads to very, very fertile ground historically. Okay. Afghanistan, why is Afghanistan not easily, no matter what it is, we can argue religion or differences of ideology or whatever at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, the number one thing that makes the Afghani people so strong is their bond and their ability to understand, slow down, and be humans and break bread no matter what's going on. Whether it's war, whether it's whatever, they anchor themselves in it. And I it's not they or whatever. I'm not saying they as an outsider. I'm just saying culturally, when we do that, it makes us very strong as humans. It is a superpower that we don't quite understand in most of the world. That fellowship, that community, that breaking bread, the reason it leads to Islam growing as rapidly as it is because of that community, because that fellowship, because also the praying 5 times a day in fellowship all together in unison, no matter if I'm here and you're there. Okay, we're all doing it. Okay, we're all practicing it. Those steps, we know it. Mm-hmm. So that's very important in the discipline of God, Allah, Yahweh. So I want to anchor that for everyone. So when you have that, when you have this combination of food, culture, strength, also similar to Italy, you've been conquered, you've been ruled, you've been freed, you've been ruled yourself. You've gone through this thing. And at the end of the day, you know what didn't leave? Your food, your culture. People can conquer you, people can take you, but you know what outlasts the falling of empires? The food, the culture, the family, God. Still there, all those things. So I just want to anchor that for everyone, and then I'm going to take it a step further for everyone just to understand this. In the late 1800s in the United States, we had territories and not states in the West. And even though there were states popping up, what happened in territories is you had cattle barons who didn't own any land, didn't actually own a single farm, were able to freely graze their cattle across the United States for no cost other than the cowboys and the cattle, and they became filthy, filthy rich, where the whole entire world that had money invested into the United States cattle industry, and it became the number one industry. Number two, what happened during World War II is in Europe, sheep, chickens, things like that grew faster during war. So they were more, and there were more abundance of them in countries like Ireland and England that were also helping feed the troops over there, that for whatever reason, Americans lost the taste of things like sheep, mutton, goat. We lost things for smaller animals, rabbit, because we were eating so much of over there. Number one, cattle industry was big. America, it's big still, controls a lot in America. Number two, we went to war in World War II, and when the troops came back, meat became a luxury American item because it wasn't what we were getting in Europe, okay? But in countries, the world, goat, sheep, other animals are just as important as a cow, a chicken, and a pig as we have it in the United States, since we focus on those 3 animals here. I just want to emphasize that for everyone. One of the greatest things in the gift of God, and one of the greatest things in the gift of countries like Afghanistan, are in cultures like that is the diversity of the food, the protein, the vegetables, the spices, all the food that goes in their body, because it can grow there, because it's a breadbasket, quote unquote, no different than what I explained in the Ukraine or the Southeast United States, or maybe even parts of California when we give it water. But when it's not monocropping and you can grow lots of different crops, bees, almost year round, that add to a full diet and nutrition that humans need to survive. Okay, that's a breadbasket area. Let's talk about the burgers a little bit. And if you want to comment on anything I said, it is your show, but I just want to anchor those things for the audience.
No, I just wanted to agree with you in terms of, how you said that, like, breaking bread. I was in Afghanistan just a few months back, and there was the whole concept of, like, this is Afghanistan. This is one of, if not one of the poorest countries in the world. They don't really have much. I think 80% of the country is in poverty. And we went there, just a bunch of Afghan Americans just to see our country. My parents haven't gone back since, the Soviet War in like 1980s. And so for us, we're coming there. We're excited to see our parents, excited to finally see their home after so many years. We get to Afghanistan, and my dad's just like, the one thing you realize is the culture, the Afghan culture of being hospitable, it never ended. It never diminished over all those years. And I remember going, there's a video, a funny video. It's one popular YouTuber. His name is Sunny Side. He has like the show. It's the best ever food review show. And they did an interview with us. And it was funny because you wouldn't expect to run into a YouTuber at 8 in the morning in a random bazaar, but we did. And I was telling him in the interview too, I was like, we were trying to buy these vests, and there were these like cool, like fishing vests. And I was like trying to haggle with the guy and say like, hey man, like, you're charging too high. Let me get it. Like, he's like, listen, I'm just charging you my price. If you want to keep it, you can keep it. It's not a problem. Like, if you need this vest, it's yours. Don't even worry about paying anything. I'm like, that's an insane concept. And I like took that to heart because I was like, look, at the burger shop, like, imagine if a person comes to me. Yeah, I'm trying to run a business. I get it. Everyone wants to make money. Money is awesome. You get to buy things. You get to enjoy life more if you have money in your pocket rather than not having any money in your pocket. It's like, it's a truth. Obviously, like the old song, more money, more problems, but like physically having money is much better than not physically having money. So I thought about it. I was like, if someone comes to the burger shop with the same idea, they come to me and they say, hey, man, I don't have money. I'm hella hungry. Am I really going to be that selfish and money hungry and turn this guy away? Am I really going to be like, hey, man, this $10 is so near and dear to me. This $10 worth of food is so important to me that I cannot even fathom giving you this meal for free. So I was like, that's the most selfish thing I've ever heard. So what I need to do is, if a person can pay for their food, if they're going to pay in full, pay in full. No problem. And this just happened last night too. Someone came, they're like, hey man, I think their total was like $15. They had $13. It's like, what's $2, man? I'm not going to go and say you can't get a fry for your kid because you don't have $2. It's all good. It's on the house. Young students come, like little kids. They're at the park. We're actually our parking lot, or where we're stationed, is right next to a huge park. And some of these kids come and they're like sweating. They just played soccer for like 2 hours, and they're like, I want to get a drink. I'm like, okay, how much you have? They're like, I have $1. I'm like, okay, go grab the drink. They're like, but we're three guys. Like, grab the drinks. Don't worry about it. Like, you're good. You guys are having a good time. Like, I remember when I was young and I didn't have that much money, and I would have loved for, an uncle or someone to be like, hey, man, don't worry about it. Like, you have $1, the drink's $2, take it and go. Like that's like the small things that we do that kind of benefits society. It kind of like restores the humanity in society. That like people are nice, people are generous, people are like thoughtful, and that's one thing that I like. I feel that I had to go to Afghanistan to then like come back to reality. Like you only realize how generous a person is when they don't have anything. They're like, I don't have anything to offer you. I have one loaf of bread. Do you want half of it? Like that was their whole concept. I have nothing, but I have this one loaf of bread. Do you want half of it? Do you want to share it? I'm like, that's insane. Like if it was me, like selfishly speaking, I'm like, dude, I have a family. Like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm not giving you this loaf of bread.
Mm.
It was just complete, just
And how
the
many people use their family as an excuse not to be at service in this
exact.
way? My family, I got to take care of my family first. Really? Is that what we're called to do as any human? Because it's interesting because if we're taking care of our family, what we really need to be doing is feeding them spiritual nutrition, which means doing the right thing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And that's also a concept like in religion. It's we're taught give and God will give you more. The more stingy you are, the more God is not going to give you. He's going to withhold from giving to you.
Man,
Because
I'm going to anchor this. Go ahead, though. Finish your thought.
that was it. I was just saying, like, the more generous a person is, you have to have that conviction. If you're a person that believes in a higher power, that you believe that there's good in this world, that the more you are generous, the more you are good, you will see that. There's a famous saying that if you were to give that God tells us in Islam that if you give $1 or one loaf of bread in charity, that God will return to you tenfold. This was the like this is my life. Its purpose is this. I'm like, why do I need this money? Give it. God's gonna give you more. God's gonna give you more. God's gonna give you more. That's it.
I'm going to anchor this. And just for the audience, I don't know what the audience knows or doesn't know, but also in addition to food for hospitals, long-term care homes, we had a company called Culiquip, first standing for culinary equipment. We acquired a company called Restaurant Equipment Sales in Delaware. They had 4 stores. They were also in the building and designing of restaurants. And then we got into construction as well as a company. So from 2008 to 2017, for those 9 years as a company, we built, designed, did restaurant equipment, supplies all over the world, did projects like Kitchen Nightmares behind the scenes. When the company that you see running behind the scenes, fixing the kitchen for the restaurant, someone had to come and do that and send people around the world for Gordon Ramsay. We were one of those companies, just to give everyone an idea of where all of that comes from and how show business and television came into my life and all that. That's the connection there. But from 2008 to 2017, those 9 years in particular in Culiquip, what I learned, because you do a lot of consulting also as people are trying to build restaurants, some even menu development stuff. And as a company that had chefs and people in development, we did menu development and did consulting on helping layouts and design based on restaurant or develop restaurant concepts. So we did a lot of work like that, distribution, work with fast food chains on developing better concepts, distribution concepts, central production, things like that. The reason I'm saying it is this. I will tell you, I met some of the most talented chefs, some of the most talented, what I'll call cooks without any culinary training, but they're still chefs. No different than an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur, even if they didn't go to business school. And so I want to emphasize that. But the thing I'm going to talk about is what happens to our business when we have all the skill in the world, but we don't follow whatever God's putting out there for us, the rules, I'll call them, the laws. I've seen many, 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 many great restaurants never leave one store or have close a store, open a new one, never quite get past one. They're going to talk about they're in their way, it's the employees, it's the economy, it's whatever. But at the end of the day, it comes down to a simple mindset. If you walked into their store, offered to do a free video for them that would go to 1 million subscribers of yours, they'd still charge you for the food. Okay, and I'm not saying you should give everything away to a social influencer, but let's take it a step further. That's someone doing a service for you, and you're not willing to do it. Then the person that comes in for free, or the person that might actually need food or need help, that person's way far down the line because they're offering you nothing in return in your mind. And that mindset is a suffering for the food entrepreneur that goes on for 40, 50, 60 years. Whether you're a donut shop and you're still in New York City with one donut location, convinced that you have the best donuts ever, but really do you? Because being the best also means building jobs and building a future. So the reason I say that to everyone is because the mindset, the willingness to give, the willingness to be a part of the community, it is scalable, number one. And number two, if you don't have it, I have never seen business do very well, because the very essence of a restaurant or a food business, if you don't understand the human connection to food and the kindness that is required around food, your business isn't going to do very well in the long run, because ultimately humans get a taste literally of who you are as the entrepreneur, and they're not going to come back. And most of the people that are coming back are only coming back for the food. They're not coming back for you. And that's really not a good business to have as an entrepreneur, when both your brand and the brand of the business need to be built at the same time in today's world. Okay. Do I mean through social media? No, I mean what we're just talking about. Take a soda, dude. What's up? I'm the owner. I'm just here. Thank you for your business. Hey, I've been in your shoes before. Here's a couple drinks. Or don't worry about the $2. Why does it matter? Those individuals, that energy we just populated into that individual spiritually, paying it forward without wanting anything in return, does give us return in God's abundance. And the restaurants that do this, that do it, understand God moves slowly for a reason. You're building an army around your business morally and ethically also, because that business spreads the word of God, which is ultimately just do good, guys. Love each other. Love your neighbors. We don't think that because we see parts of the world warring and we assume we're at war with one another. It's just not true. On a spiritual level, on a God level, there's nothing on a God level that puts us at odds with each other. If we're all under Him, that wouldn't make sense.
I agree.
So let's talk about how do you get from I'm doing these pop-ups, I'm sticking with halal, you're sticking true to yourself, which is also important, guys. What I just talked about is lack of authenticity. So not only be authentic, but lean into it as hard as you can for the audience. So let's talk about, how do you get from, I've got this idea, we're doing well, I know I can make it a business, into where you are now? Like, let's talk about that journey. Let's talk about those decisions. Let's talk about getting through COVID and what happens.
Yeah. So one thing I want to preface it is, in life, if you play everything safe, you may pass on decisions that would probably transform your entire life. So it's very important to be calculated, do your research, but take risks. Those risks will benefit you in the future. It definitely will. Sometimes you may lose. However, the risks that we took, moving forward with this business, the leap of faith that we did from going to just doing these Saturday pop-ups, we only had, our hours of availability was like 5 to 7 I think it was once a month first, then it went to twice a month, then it went, weekly. And then from there, then we did Saturdays and Sundays. And we were at a point where we were getting a consistent amount of customers, And I'll never forget the day. It was a weird feeling. It was the day my daughter was born. She was born on December 30th. And I don't know why in my mind, the week before I had put that we're doing a pop-up December 31st. And I'm like, because at that point we didn't know when she was going to be born. And we're like, they give you the tentative date.
I love the entrepreneur mindset. We're just like, oh, we'll get through it no matter what. That it just becomes our autopilot.
The funny thing is that like usually people take off like 3 weeks. I'm like, I was a first time dad. I had no experience getting into this. I was like, I don't know, what's gonna happen. So she was born, and I'm like telling my wife, I'm like, what mistake did I do having a pop up the day after my daughter's born? She's like, don't worry. Like, she's like, I have my mom, like, I have my family here. Like, you go do your thing and then just come back at night. Like, if you're worried about me, like, I'm good. Don't worry. Like, it's me and the baby. We got family here. They're going to be taking care of me. Like, go do your thing. And I'm like, okay. Like, that gives me a little bit of comfort that I can go and do the pop up. And then I step foot outside of the hospital, and it's like torrential rain. Like, it's raining, like in the movie Forrest Gump when he's like, it was raining down, it was raining sideways. At times we thought it was raining up. Like, that's how much rain there was coming down on us as soon as I left the hospital. And I go to, my location, and I see like the back of the store is like flooded. So I go to the park and I set up my equipment under this tiny gazebo. And for some crazy reason, people are coming. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, it was so windy. It was raining like crazy. And it was just me and one of my buddies. And he like offered to help. He's like, dude, you just had a kid. Like, why are you even here? But don't even worry. I'm here. I got you. I'll handle this station. You do that station. I was like, all right, perfect. And I just see like people are like talking to me like, oh yeah, we came from San Jose. We've heard, great reviews about your place. I was like, you came from San Jose for my burger? Like,
In a
what?
rainstorm, by the
In
way.
a rainstorm? Like, are you joking right now? Like, things are not even working properly. Like, the grill was like getting cold every
This
like
is
10
like, hey, come fish over here. There's way more fish over there. And someone's like, it's raining. There's torrential down, so no one's going to catch any fish right now. And you're like, no, I'm going anyway. I might catch some fish. And you're starting to you catch a really big fish.
Exactly. And so I was just shocked at that point. I was like, how are people really traveling from this far? In my mind, it was like, I just couldn't understand. Like, why is someone traveling this much of a distance for my food? I was like, is it really good? Like, is it really that good that someone can travel from San Jose to come to Union City to eat a burger in a rainstorm? And it's like windy like crazy. And they came and they got their food, and then they posted a review on Facebook saying like, oh my gosh, the day after his kid was born, he came and did this pop-up, and the food was delicious, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I recommend everyone to come. And like, just that, through that word of mouth, through that posting on the group, it got to a few other members, and from there people were reaching out to me asking, oh, do you do catering? Do you do birthdays? Do you do graduations? And slowly, that worked my way up to then taking that leap of faith, taking that huge risk of moving from just me with a little grill to finally investing in a food trailer. And that was like the scariest risk of my life, because we had no idea if this business was going to be successful or not. We had no idea like what the future had in store for us. And even more important, this is something that's extremely important to preface this with. A month before my daughter was born, it was 2022. It was the huge layoffs in every single company. At that time, I was working as a recruiter for Amazon or AWS. And I just remember getting a meeting at 8 in the morning with my manager. And he's like, hey, Ahmad, I just want to let you know, you've been doing great on this team. but unfortunately, we need to downsize the entire team. So we're keeping one person and everyone else is being laid off. And I'm like, my daughter is going to be born in like a month and a half. Like, what? I don't know what I'm going to do right now. Like, I now have no job. I have the burger thing that I'm doing on the weekends, and that's my only source of income. I was like, my wife's on maternity leave. So, like, she's not working. I'm not working aside from this. What do I do? And so that's when, fast forward again back to like it was February or January, I took that leap of faith. I said, you know what? I'm going to invest in this food trailer and I'm just going to go wherever. Anywhere that someone needs me to go, I'm going to go and do their events. I'm going to go and, do a pop up here, do a pop up there. And we did that. We were in that same location behind the store. We did, events in San Ramon and East Bay, South Bay, San Francisco, Richmond. We just took the truck and operated everywhere. And then I found a Facebook post and there was this one guy, I need to name drop him. His name is Dirk Lawrence. He was my first landlord. And he's the one that told me that, I see in you some, some special, like that fire, that you have that desire for running a business. And I know that I already have like 15, 16 other customers or potential leasees that want to lease my land. And he had prime real estate. It was facing a street called Fremont Boulevard in Fremont. And that is like one of the most busiest streets. And he was facing it was also facing a high school. So you have the high school crowd, you have natural advertisement because there's probably thousands of cars passing through that road daily. And my truck was beautifully wrapped in a baby blue wrap with flying burgers all over it. So if you're driving and you look to your right, you're going to see this giant blue trailer and you're going to be like, what is this thing? So he took that risk with me. And once I moved to that Fremont location, it was like, kind of like, that's a wrap. I had natural customers just stop by and see, what my business was all about. They tried my food. I had food influencers. There's a very popular food influencer. His name is Grub with Mike. Once his video dropped, I think it got 100,000 plus views within the first day. And then it was just kind of, do I want to expand my business more, or do I still want to keep that level of like, knowing people on a first name basis? And I realized that it's not hard to do both. It's not that hard. It takes some effort, but it's not hard to do that. To do the same, to do both things of trying to scale your business, trying to keep it 5 stars or keep the quality the same level, even though the amount of customers coming is an insane amount, and then also try to remember their names. And that's one thing that I realized, that it sticks with people. If you remember their name and you say, hey, what's up, Aaron? Hey, what's up, Eric? Hey, what's up, so-and-so? Their face lights up. They're like, wait a second, I just came here to buy a burger. How, like, what's going on? This guy remembered me? This guy remembers my name? And that kind of like reinforces their reason for coming back. Like, not only is the food good, but the guy has great customer service. The guy speaks to me like, not as if I'm just a customer, not as if I'm just like, money in the till. It's like, oh, he's talking to me like I'm a human being. We're like having a conversation. We joke around. And so that's what I thought like was the most important thing for my business. Like, keep it running like a well-oiled machine. Make sure that our burgers are pumping out at an insane speed. And the good thing is that it's smash burgers. So, they're on the grill, they cook quickly, they're out of the truck and into your hands within, I don't want to say at times, sometimes it's busy, but within a few minutes. And so that's what kind of built our business. We got a lot of notoriety. We had a lot of food influencers come. We had a lot of events that we did. We did events for Yelp. We did events there was a UFC fighter. His name is Habib Nurmagomedov. He had an event. We did an event for them. And so like it built our business. And that's what helped get our business to where we are today.
I love this. Let's talk a little bit about, I hate doing this because when I was in undergrad, Food Service Partners was started when I was 18. I was undergrad, went to Dickinson College, so anyone knows, Red Devils, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, did international business and management and concentration in Spanish and Latin American studies. But the reason I bring it up, all those things, is because one of the things that was said a lot then is, okay, you can have an ice cream shop or a cookie shop, but how is it going to be better than everyone else? Okay, your product and burgers, everyone could argue there's lots of burgers. I would argue burgers have a lot of different forms, smash burger, regular burgers. People are doing a lot of other cool things with burgers outside of it. What we're talking about here, rolling them up and putting them in hot dog buns, all sorts of fun things. Okay, well, I guess 7-Eleven does that also. But I want to talk about the specialness to the brand. Part of it's you, part of it's, the friendliness, the kindness, the family environment, but there's more to it than that. That's just leveraging good food. Talk to me about how you've pulled all this together. You've leveled up, you've said it yourself, leveled up your food game as you built this business. How have you done that? What does it look like? How do you make your burgers the star of the show in the way that you do?
I think I'm a name drop the movie Burnt. I believe it was Burnt with Bradley Cooper. I remember watching that, and there was one scene, and I related a lot with it. It was one scene that the guys from Michelin were going to come to their restaurant, and they're like, "Oh, the Michelin guys are here." They described them like they put the fork on the floor and whatever, and they said, "I'm pretty sure it's the Michelin guys." And he looked straight back at the staff and he said, "We just do what we do." And that's like my whole entirety of my business. I feel the thing that makes our business stand out is that we're not trying to stand out. We're not sitting there saying, we need to be the best. What can we do to be the greatest burger shop in the entire, Bay Area? What we're doing, actions speak louder than words. It's like our actions speak for itself. We're not using, low quality meat. We're using Harris Ranch beef. Harris Ranch is a company that's been specializing in beef production since the 20s, I think. So if a person's been in business since the 20s and they've been doing, beef, they know what they're doing. So the quality of the meat, high quality. We make sure that everything that we use there's a controversy behind tomatoes, like on burgers. Some people like it, some people don't. But in my mind, I don't put tomatoes on our burgers. Why? It's because tomatoes are majority liquid, and you need something that's going to keep that structural stability of the burger. The burger is a smash burger. Smash burgers are greasy. That's like, just no. And so what we do is we have the lettuce, we have the pickles, we have our onions. You can choose grilled onions or regular onions, but we make sure the way that everything is set up is that there is no, destruction of the burger before you eat it. And so that means limiting the amount of liquid items or majority liquid items into your food. And so that's what we did. We kind of played with it. We put tomatoes on the burger, and it seems like kind of something so small as like adding tomatoes or taking off tomatoes. But like we did that trial and error during the time where we had me in the flat top in the back of the store. And that's when I did all my R&D. I would ask people like, what about this? What about that? Do you like tomatoes on your burger? Do you not like tomatoes on your burger? They're like, well, if we have tomatoes on the burger, the next day it's like slimy and it's stuck to the bun, and the bun absorbs all the liquid and it turns into like smush. I was like, okay, makes sense. Some people don't want to eat all their burgers in, that day. They leave their food for tomorrow. How do we perfect our food that it'll last the day of if you want to eat it, or tomorrow if you want to eat it? What steps do we take that it's just one package and it's always good? And so we invested. We invested in, before we had some complaints. Oh, your fries are getting cold quick because you have a long wait time because there's so many people here. Okay, all right, I get it. Now I got to invest in, the fry warmer. I bought a fry. And it's relying on the community too.
Yeah, it's 100%. I know the fry
He
warmer
is your
thing.
friend.
Yeah.
They're your friend if you allow
Same
them
with
to.
any fried food. You got to have those warmers. Otherwise, you're screwed. It goes
Yeah,
bad quickly.
it goes really bad quickly. And that was our thing. It was at first I was like hesitant. Like I didn't want to rely on the community because I was like, they're going to criticize me and I'm going to get the bad reviews and be like, oh, this, and this. But no, if you have faith in someone, like in someone's good, like you said earlier, like naturally people are good. People, we have no issue with each other. We're all built the same. We're all created the same. We're all the same at the end of the day. If you ask them to help your business, if you speak to them kindly and ask them like, look, I want you to enjoy the food. If you do not enjoy the food, please tell me. I'm here. I'm standing right here. Tell me so that I may remake it for you. There's no recharge. There's no, I'm charging you extra for this. It's not all a money grab. I genuinely care how you enjoy your food. And if you actually enjoy the food, then I'm happy. So it's just basically like food service is exactly what's in the name. It's service. You have to understand that it's hospitality. You want to make sure that the person is enjoying their meal. It's not that you're just making money off of them.
Talk to me about you're all in at this point. Once you go to the trailer, you're all in. There's no like, I'm going to go do something else. I mean, I think other people try to juggle a job and running a food trailer. I don't know how or why, but if you don't jump all the way into these things and build a business truly with all the time that you have, it's a very slow grind. And I will tell you will burn out after 2 to 3 years. I don't know why, but it just happens until someone commits and you're like, this is what I'm going to do. Let's talk about that because I think it's important for the audience. I think it's important. Your brand, the way it's been built is also because you burned the ships behind you. You went all in, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
talk
I,
about
I,
that.
I agree. I think that, if you really, really believe in yourself, you really believe in your business, you have to go all in. It's the only way. And there's some key things that you have to take as motivation. Obviously, we have a special month every year. It's called Ramadan. So Ramadan for Muslims, we don't eat throughout the day, and then at nighttime we break our fast when sunset. And there has been kind of like a culture of Ramadan now. The culture of Ramadan is like when people are done with their nightly prayers after fasting, then they go to the mosque and they pray. And after that, you're hungry. So what do I do? Monday through Thursday, people are busy. They got work in the morning. They can't really go out. But Friday and Saturday, those are the days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those are the days that you go out with your friends and you just go to every restaurant that's open late. And so we had these events basically that started at midnight and it ended at 4 in the morning. It started at midnight and ended at 4 in the morning. There was no operational hours throughout the day. And I remember coming in there and and I remember it was like, we were to open at 11 and I was there at like 10:15. And I already see there's like 5 cars pulled up to the area. And I'm like, what's going on? So I go and I set everything up and I'm in the truck and I'm like, I'm not really looking up. I'm getting all putting the new oil in the fryer and putting the propane tanks in and heating up the griddle and making sure the lettuce and everything is stocked properly. And then I get up and I see there's a humongous line and they're waiting. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, why is there this many people here? And it was a huge motivator for me to then completely go all in. Because the first time we did this event, it was me with the little flat top grills. We tried it out and there was heck people there. But then once we moved to the new location, which was in Fremont, more people came. People were coming from South Bay. People were coming from Oakland. People were coming from Richmond, Lafayette, and Concord area, like all over the Bay Area. People were coming for our food. And so, like you said, what is like the key factors to go all in? I when I saw this, when I saw the first event that we did and saw that there was this many people waiting in line to try my food, I was like, that's it. I need to now perfect my recipe, perfect my sauce. Our sauces are killer. Like that's what kind of sets us apart from other businesses. Everyone can do a smash burger, but ketchup, lettuce, and mustard, and what am I saying? Lettuce, ketchup, and mustard on their burgers, and say it's a smash burger. But it all boils down to the sauce. It was a sauce that it took me, my wife, and my sister-in-law like a week doing R&D in our small, tiny apartment. She would come over, she would make these sauces, and then I would try it. And I was like, no, this one tastes too vinegary. This one's too like this one's too like that. And we did so many sauces that I became sick of tasting sauces. But once we landed on that final recipe, now people are literally willing to pay for our sauce, just the sauce. Guys, like I can eat whatever. I just buy the sauce and I leave it at home so that the next day, like when I'm eating lunch with whatever I'm eating, I just dip it in the sauce and I eat it. And that's what kind of like that connects to your business. And so there's a lot of smash burger places out there in the Bay Area right now. But in 2020, when we first started, I think it was just us and like two other spots. But now there's like a whole humongous culture. Everyone nowadays in 2025, everyone's getting a food trailer. Everyone's getting a food truck. But the point is, how can I stand out while the market is being flooded with different food businesses? Why is there people still coming to us despite there being so many more options, maybe 10 minutes from their house compared to, a 20-minute drive or a 30-minute drive? What is making us so special? And I feel like, when a person is going all in on their business, they need to make sure that these things are already planned out so that they could scale. One of my good friends told me, he's like, the major mistake or the number one reason why businesses fail is that they're successful, is because they're successful. They don't know how to scale.
Yeah.
They diminish.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I'm in the state that right now I'm looking, I took that first leap of faith, got the trailer, and now I'm ready to take the second leap of faith and go to the next level.
Yeah, I love this. Let's talk about growing this. I mean, you're 5 years in now. You're thinking about the future. You're thinking about where this leads you and your family. Let's talk about what your dreams, goals, sort of next steps are for your business.
Dreams and goals, I want to make sure that this business is something that lasts, something that thrives, because I feel we're in an era that there's so much commercialization of businesses that we kind of lost that mom and pop feel. And it's not necessarily like, it has to be like this small store where there's like a guy to greet you by your name or whatever, but it just having great customer service, something that you go to this restaurant, you're going to have a great time. You're going to feel like you are respected and you're not just a number. And so for me, I want to find a restaurant that I can, teach my team to have the same level of kindness, the same level of respect towards customers the way I do, to make sure that I have a team that is able to, like a machine, to be able to recreate that product perfectly every single time. And so scalability wise, what is my dream? Obviously is to have many, many burger shops all over the US. That's a dream. How do we get to step one? That's the most important thing to me, is how can I secure a restaurant? How can I make it perfectly in the image that I want it to be in, to not only bring in, to be a reason for people to come to eat food, but to stay there too. There needs to be an ambiance. There needs to be, like, as they say, a vibe to the place. You need to be able to go somewhere and not just go there, get your food and get out. You want to chill. You want to go there. You want to have your burgers. You want to have your fries. You also want to get a milkshake. You also want to, chill and like hang out with your friends. You want to be able to, have a conversation. You want to do other things. That's just the type of place, like they say, like a third space that you can not only just sit there and eat food, but then you could also like have little events there if you want. So it's in the process. We're trying to make it a reality. So we'll see what the next steps are.
Yeah, I love this. I'm going to anchor something and then I'm going to let you close us out. Let's talk as an audience. I just want to emphasize something. Sometimes in life, everything gets removed because we're not taking the steps in which we've been equipped for. And if that happens in your life and you're in a panic and you're kind of dabbling around in something in food, it probably means that you're being pushed in the direction that you've already been equipped for or being equipped for, or God knows that he can equip you during the process, okay, to be greater. That's what we sort of heard here. There's equipping of the burger, a process that happens. The reason it happens as slowly is because we have to be equipped to handle it in the process and glorify it. I'm going to anchor a mindset thing for everyone in general, okay? Business owners that anchor themselves in, I'm building a business to create jobs, which pay taxes to a community, which needs to be profitable so I can create more jobs, so I can have more locations, so I can affect more people, so I can create more jobs, so I can help more families, so I can help them send their kids to more colleges, buy more cars, buy whatever houses. If I think that at the time I'm always equipping others with more abundant education, life skills, training, financial reward without entitling them or ruining their sense of work ethic. It's a balance as an entrepreneur. But all of those things, when we anchor it in that, knowing that in order to do that, our business has to be profitable, the abundance that we get is better financially, morally, ethically, universally, spiritually, energy, exercise, all the things that happen are so much better because we don't get so anchored to making money. Because when we get anchored to making money, no matter how much money there is, there's not enough. Okay. But if we anchor ourselves to, how many jobs am I creating, profitable jobs? How much taxes am I paying, even though no one wants to pay taxes? When we reverse the script, boom, our business is better. Our business is going to boom. Why? Because business and food is never about making money. We are in a transaction. It has to be economical. It has to be profitable to thrive so we can create more jobs. But at the end of the day, what wealth is actually monetarily is us creating a lot of jobs in the food business or supporting a lot of jobs or a lot of farmers or whatever. We're supporting a lot of people. That's why food is so important. That's why the food entrepreneur is so important. We have so much influence and impact on so many well into the future. Even after we're gone, we've impacted those farmers. So I just want everyone to think about that. I want everyone to think about it and what I just said. And I also want to think about, if you look at it as I need to make money, but it's grounded in the profitability of creating jobs, creating a better thing, that doesn't mean don't use AI or don't use robotics, guys. That's not what I'm saying. Let's not tie that together by what I'm saying. I'm saying be economical, be a good steward of the money God's gifted you through business so far. But if you're using it to reinvest in humanity, reinvest in the animals, plants, and the world around us, and do it in a proper way that's healthy for humans and the world, the abundance will come. And that's not, well, then why does blah, 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 all natural food restaurant or grocery store not succeed? Well, because we're missing a very vital point, is you can't just be like, oh, eat healthy and expect a community to build around it. You're negating thousands of years of traditions and culture and human bonding. So that's the reason it doesn't work. It's a great idea in food is just a great idea. It lacks with the energy that's in food, the life that it gives to us, the that humans without good food practices or without any food up until the modern era died. Period. So food is a very important part of human history, even if we don't see it anymore and it's more of a luxury now, at least to first world countries. Ahmad, I'm gonna let you comment on that a little bit, and then I'll close this out.
No, I agree that the whole entire process is to help those around you. My team right now, I employ folks that are in, either just out of high school or just starting college because, those people, they're just starting their lives. They need way to kind of be equipped with what life is going to throw at them. What is life going to throw at them? Life's going to throw at them angry customers. Life is going to throw at them, problems that they need to solve. And there's dozens of problems that happen daily at the burger shop. There's times that I get calls that, hey, the propane's not working. Hey, this is not working. Hey, this is not working. And my response to them is I'll help them with the troubleshooting, but I'm like, hey, you're going to need to figure out how to fix this problem. 9 times out of 10, within 5 minutes, they're like, all right, fixed it. Because you need to kind of give them the empowerment to solve the problems on their own. And then they're going to be able to solve those problems. But if you kind of tell them like, oh no, it's okay. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. I'll do that for you. It's kind of coddling them and you're not allowing them to grow, especially in that age group that I'm targeting with my team is I want to impart upon them like the skills that are needed to be successful in life. You need to be diligent. You need to be able to be organized. You need to have, great, not only customer service, but just intrapersonal skills so that when you're speaking to someone, you can have a normal conversation with them. You can have a, intellectual conversation with them. And that was the whole concept behind, the team and the reason why I chose this specific age group. I have a younger brother and he works for me too. And growing up with him, it's just always been a headache. Like that, as soon as they hit puberty, they're just like, everything is no, I know better than you. And so it was like, I need to focus on these kids. These guys are going to be our future. So if we don't work on them, we don't help them with the skills needed to be, active adults in our community. How are they going to learn? So that was the main idea behind that. But aside from that, it's been a pleasure being here today. We're at just to plug the burger shop. We're at the burger shop, 3851 Smith Street. We're open Thursdays to Monday from 5 to 10 p.m. Recommend everyone and anyone that's in the East Bay or Bay Area in general to come by, say what's up, get a burger if you want. We'd love to have you there, and we'd love to see you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it'll be in the show notes as well for everyone. And I'll ask you to do it one more time as we end. This will be my last question for you. Motivation, inspiration, why keep going? Every time you've had big bumps in the road, we talk about the 12 to 15 to 25 to 100 problems we have in the food business because we have so many inputs every day. Lettuce, tomato, just as an example, 2 inputs alone. Just to give everyone an idea of how many inputs we have, and our entire menu is full of inputs. And then we have employees and hoods and mixers and things with machine parts and health inspectors and everything else under the sun. So let's talk about that. Keep going. Motivation, inspiration, especially during the hard times.
Inspiration, my family. Motivation, my family. If, I was entrusted by God with a wife and child. And so my responsibility as a father and as a husband and as a provider for the family is to make sure that, they're taken care of. not only are they taken care of, but they're thriving. And how can I do that if that means that I have to work double? If I have to work 2 times as hard or 3 times as hard, it doesn't matter because that's my responsibility as a provider for my family. When I deal with those hiccups, the number one thing that comes to mind is problem solving, is how can I figure out a solution to this problem in the fastest way possible. And I feel like my background in recruiting helped me a lot in that sense because as a recruiter, 1,001 problems can happen, especially during the COVID era where everyone was online. And surprisingly, these engineers that had 15 years of engineering experience cannot work a Google Meets or don't know how to work a Zoom meeting call. It would be my responsibility to make sure that the recruiter and the potential or the interviewee is all on the same call without any internet connection issues, making sure that everything is running smoothly. When we had the on-site interviews, to make sure that they were actually in the right building, it was at the drop of a dime. You'd have to just make sure how you can fix these issues. So that kind of helped me there. It's really important to have those skills, especially in an industry that is changing and that is so rapidly, like within the drop of a dime, everything could go wrong. There's been times in which, we had a gas leak in the truck and we turned on the griddle and a fire burst out in the truck. How do you stop that? What steps do you take? If you're not equipped with the right problem solving abilities, you're going to sit there and you're going to call the fire department and you're going to lose it. But I knew that you just turn off the propane, make sure all of the pipings are, tight. And we realized that one of the bolts were loose and that's where the gas was coming out. So it was just problem solving skills is number one important thing to have when in this type of a business.
I love it. I appreciate everything you said. I appreciate this podcast. Where can they find you online again? Where can they try your burger? All of those good things. If they want to reach out for catering, all that type of stuff.
Yeah. If you want to find us, a simple Google search, you can find the burger shop, our hours of availability. We're located in Union City, 3851 Smith Street. If you want to find us online as well, you can reach us at Instagram. Our name is The Burger Shop. On our Burger Shop page on Instagram, we're on Instagram and TikTok. We have our link in our bio where you can go ahead and inquire if you have any caterings, if you have any events that you want us to be a caterer for. You can reach out to us. And then we also have our personal line if you want to give us a call or set up any appointments there.
I love it. This is going to be my closing thought for everyone. It'll be quick. I want everyone to think that we have not conquered anything yet. And because we are across the globe doesn't mean that we are done as humans. Okay. And the food code and food laws God has passed down to us and our request to be master over our realm. Okay, that doesn't mean ownership over. That means from an education standpoint, no different than a master of business administration or a master of divinity. We're to get educated and understand the world around us, particularly plants and animals and food and the things that God has given us. God gives us a tree, we turn it into furniture. We can also turn it into firewood and burn something down. That is where our will comes in. Okay? For everyone, just to anchor this, what happens and what is going on is, okay, we as humans assist in the gift of life, okay? Not any other species, not any other animals, and to my knowledge, we haven't found any other aliens that do this, okay? They're probably out there. If I'm God, I'm gonna, like I said, bet. I'm going to logically invest in multiple places for salvation. But in our human existence, you have a lot of planets that don't have life. You have a human population that's been given the life of growth, like I said, endless growth through these food laws handed down by God. Okay. We have to naturally understand that at some point that what we've been given, what's here, what's the gift of our Garden of Eden right here on earth was a gift from God to take with us elsewhere. Because most of the planets around us are dead. There's no life. There's not much water. Trees are non-existent, or life is pretty non-existent in the world, which means it's a gift, which means it's in abundance, which means we need to celebrate it, which means we need to create more of it, not worry about overpopulation in the United States, but in fact, how we overpopulate the universe, not just our planet, because that's what we're called to do. Okay. We can go beyond earth because heaven, our life, our spiritual life is metaphysically, even if we're scientifically going to do it, beyond just this. Okay. So everyone who's out there and we get caught up in these things and there seems like finite, or we're worried about overpopulation, or is there enough food and we need to eat more plants and there's not going to be enough animals. I argue to you, you don't understand what God's equipping us for in this moment as entrepreneurs. Because if you look at what he did in food thousands of years ago and hundreds of years ago, you can see that God plays the game of planting seeds. And miracles are things that happen in our lowest moments, but what the world sees is the highest moment and calls it the miracle. It's not when the miracle happened. The miracle happened when we lose everything, and there was that push to go into the burger business because there wasn't anything else. That's the miracle. The miracle happened then, and then we are used to help others, create jobs, create community, build faith, build halal's recognition, and educate others who aren't Muslim on the importance of it, because it is important beyond religion. Just so everyone knows, it is important. And it's important because of what I just said. We don't totally know why we've been equipped with all these things. And it's not over yet. We still need them in the future. And sometimes God equips us thousands of years ago for things that we need now. No different than what I just said about the seed planted, the miracle happening later. And I'm going to leave everyone with that. So in our businesses, what are we doing to contribute to all of that, to God, to God's kingdom, religiously, Allah, Yahweh? What are we doing to help each other build God's kingdom if it goes beyond this planet? What does that really mean? That means creation of life beyond us. That means the assistance in creation of life and then supporting it. Love God, love your neighbor, Christianity, but that's true in everything, guys. We just talked about the most important thing is that we grow the world around us for the future, and we equip the world now for a future we're not even certain of, because we could equip someone now who that equipping could lead to something better in their legacy 4 generations from now. That's our gift of life beyond just creating life. So when we're worried about it, or we're thinking about profit, or we're caught up in our businesses and why it's not growing, it's because we don't anchor it to what we need to be anchoring it to, which is the growth, not of the bank account, not of the profitability of the business, but of the communities around us, the individuals around us, so they can go thrive and they can go create abundance and they can go procreate and create generations. And when we assist in that, we can talk about anything. We can talk about a lot of bad individuals who were business people. But at the end of the day, did God use them to create a lot of jobs, create a lot of business, create something that maybe rubbed the world the wrong way so something better came out of it? I know it's hard to understand, but suffering, the loss of things, that's the very miracles that move us in a different direction. It moved me in a different direction. It gave salvation to my soul because I was moved in a different direction. And I'm going to anchor one last thing for the audience, just from a reference standpoint. The first girl I ever fell in love with and dated for almost 3 years was Jewish, even though I went to Catholic school for middle school and high school, all boys school, 29 boys in my class, smallest class. Also, Opus Dei Catholic school, by the way. Then my first wife, she was Muslim from Bangladesh, born in Bangladesh, came over here when she was 3 with her family. So a lot of Muslim understanding influence, even as a Christian, even as someone that goes to seminary, my understanding of we have a lot more in common than we do differences. And only people that in power that want to hold on to power look at differences as a way of keeping people segregated to control power. But we're all the same, guys. We may fundamentally have differences, which we may see as inexcusable, but they aren't if we look at the tools that God uses for salvation in all of us individually. My salvation is going to be different than someone else's. My sins are different than someone else's. So there has to be different tools that get me out of my sin. So there's going to be different options. Okay. I just want everyone to understand that. That's why there's multiple angels and there's multiple saints and there's multiple prophets, because the weight cannot just be carried by one or many or whatever. We all have to carry it together, And what I mean by many is that it can't just be carried by those that don't believe in something better, that don't believe that we can do better, that everything that we do has the purpose of being better or creating something better. Thank you for your time, guys. The burger shop, seriously, this episode's been awesome for me. I'm going to ask Ahmad to come back. Ahmad, will you come back and do a part 2 for me? Because I would love to talk a lot more about some other things in your business, marketing, advertising, accounting, hiring, firing, all those things, because we didn't dive into those. I'd love to have you back on.
Absolutely. I'd love to be on.
I appreciate it. And everyone in the audience, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Like, share, comment on the episode. I heard this thing the other day. I'm just going to say my point of view. I know everyone on social media is like, don't like, share, comment on your own stuff. I guess I get it. But someone's got to put God's vote out there for you, and he's voting for you. So if you don't do it for yourself and aren't voting for yourself, who's doing it? Don't listen to the people that don't want you voting for yourself or rooting for yourself. It doesn't matter if it looks good or bad. I'm rooting for myself. And if you were running for president, you would vote for yourself. So why aren't you voting for yourself on social media? That makes no sense to me, logically. Put God's vote out there, guys. Don't worry about it. Root for yourself. I know it's cliche, or people might say it's egocentric. It's not. It's not. It's okay for you to root for yourself. It's okay for it. If you believe that that's what you need to do, it's okay. It's up to you. But I will tell you, your mom's voting for you. Maybe your dad's voting for you unconditionally. So you should vote for yourself unconditionally also. Root for yourself. I love you guys. I'm out.